the podium and talk to your people as well. I was just tempted because I see young stars here, the little ones, you know. Those of us, by the way, who grew up under apartheid, we used to recite a lot. So there is a message that the MEC was saying about the future, you know. Do you remember what did she say? Let's not wait for the future, let's create it now. You know, I would have asked you to sing it. Minister, please, let's give the minister a round of applause.
Thank you very much, DG, Dr. Tsere. The reason why I'm doing this is because there is lots of discrimination which takes many forms. I always say to people, don't say it's discrimination against short people. You take offense in that. Put it as discrimination against people who are not so tall. Thank you very much, Program Director, our DG. Let me also greet MEC for Health, Mema Shifo, who is standing in here for the Premier, Dr. Popi Ramatuba, as she has said. Let me also greet MMC Tebele Nomabulu, who is also here on behalf of the Mayor. We appreciate your presence. Let me also greet Professor Temo Kumutiba, the Acting Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research, Innovation and Partnerships here at the University of Limpopo. Let me also greet the Acting Regional Manager of the NYDA, Mr. Mosco Miapa. Let me also greet all the executives who are here from the university, all other distinguished members of this wonderful institution, senior government leaders, traditional leaders, youth and civil organizations. Let me also greet and thank our panelists for making this very lively and more relevant, especially to the audience that we are targeting. Stakeholders also from the the rest of our continent, African continent. Let me greet the students and learners and say thank you very much for making time to be here, because all this is largely about you, as the MSc has so eloquently put it. And I like what you said, as you were underlining, DG. Don't wait for the future. Create it, so that you make it what you want it to be. Most importantly, the young of South Africa and the young of our continent as a whole. Our dialogue takes place in the month in which we as a country pay tribute to the gallant generation of young people who led the epoch-shaping student uprisings of June 1976 here in Africa. We've deliberately tied this to the G20, as you can see the flags. The G20 is made up of the most developed countries in the world, as well as less developed countries, but that are seen as playing a very important role in the political economy of the world. And they represent more than 70% of the world's population, these countries that are part of the G20. We are hosting the G20 as South Africa. We are president. It's going to be held, the Leaders Summit in November. It's the first time that the G20 is being held on the African continent. We felt as government, yeah, Shayan is right. We feel that as government, this must not just be limited to the union buildings or to government offices, but generally our people must feel to be part of this. And we brought it deliberately here to the University of Limpopo, which is a relatively rural university, where also you have got some of the poorest students who attend here, so that you can also then, as this university, be part of this. That's why I would like to thank the Vice Chancellor for allowing us to actually come and bring this G20 event to this university. Of course, today, by the way, is our original Freedom Day. In case you have forgotten, 26th of June is exactly, 26th of June 2025 is exactly 70 days since the adoption of the Freedom Charter. It was adopted on this day in 1955. So it's a very important day. And one of the most well-known slogans of the Freedom Charter is that the doors of learning and culture shall be opened. We are contributing to that today, that we want to ensure not only that the doors of learning and culture are open, but that especially our young people are aware that the doors are open. Because we can talk about it, but they may not see that they are open. So we hope that, especially to our youth, today you will be able, as was said by one of the panelists, go and find the institutions and the opportunities. Yes, because they are there. In fact, it was said by more than one panelist. I really like that. And also what I like is that those who are younger than us, okay, sometimes we call them the older youth. They are the ones who talk to young people, because sometimes when we speak, what else is he gonna say? You know, other than to squeal, you know, and do all sorts of things. So if it's said by people like yourselves who are working with young people, we work with them too. But also it makes a difference. We really appreciate that. Now, let me answer one question that was asked about a family that has got, say, 2 dependents who are at university. As far as I know, because I used to be in this department, is that NSFAS does allow that if you have got 2 dependents, you are not judged by only earning 350,000, but we are charged that if we are earning up to 600,000 rand per annum, but we've got 2 dependents, you qualify for NSFAS, even if you are above 350,000. So NSFAS does take that into account. There's a fact. Yes, always right. So I just thought that I should answer that question. Our dialogue takes place in the same year, as I have said, that we are actually president of the G20. And I've tried very briefly to explain what the G20 is. Also, our dialogue takes place under a geopolitical climate, international situation, if you like, that is defined by old and new challenges, some of which include global inequality, food insecurity, the impact of climate change, the need for energy security, the persistence of armed conflict, and the growing push towards unipolarity by some countries who want to bully us. And our president has said it. Poor as we are not going to be bullied. And we say that with confidence because we know that we've got talent in our country to be able to do things and also to contribute to the rest of the world. Which is what science is about, by the way. Simply, what is science? Science is the pursuit to find solutions to the problems facing humanity. Simply, that's what science is. Science, by the way, to have a scientific mind means that you are solution-oriented rather than problem-oriented. There are people who are very eloquent in just mentioning problems. What about this problem? What are you saying about that problem? And this also, there is shortage of that. There is this and that. Always when you hear some people, then ask them, what do you think we should to actually address the very same problems that you are. I wish our young people could have this mindset and not be masters of complaining and lamenting. We are not saying we mustn't point out problems, but what are the solutions? We are a water scarce country. How do we address that? That's where innovation, science and innovation comes in to say, can we develop technologies to grow food where there isn't enough water for agriculture? I'm sure there are. Maybe I'm planting this now in your own mind. We've had a problem of load shedding. We must solve it. We must come up with a solution that we actually do not have load shedding. That's what science also helps. Science is about solving problems facing humanity. And it requires that mindset. Even politics, by the way, Comrade MMC, we require people who are solution-oriented. Not those who are so eloquent in lamenting. Lamenting and there's nothing I'm impatient about us. Yes, mention those problems and then say, I'm making an example of Comrade Masipala. As Comrade Masipala, though, however, having outlined these problems, here is what I think needs to be done. So it's a mindset that we need. There's a simple way of explaining science. All these problems I'm talking about. You know, as we are having these problems in the world today, by the way, science also can be used in dangerous ways. The genocide in Gaza that is being waged by the Israeli apartheid government, they use artificial intelligence to trace their enemies. That's how they are able to kill and target scientists in Iran. Particular scientists who are in the nuclear space, or generals, army generals. How do you hit an army general sitting at home with his family in this instance? They use artificial intelligence. So part of the struggle we have is that we need to use science to solve problems rather than to use science to kill people. There's another struggle we have that we actually need to deal with. There are exciting opportunities that have opened. Artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, 3D printing, robotics, automation, self-driving vehicles, by the way. These days, biotechnology, gene editing. I am told that artificial intelligence is going to contribute by 2030 $20 trillion into the world economy. Now I want to say to our business people, where will you be? I want to say to our young people, where will you be? As South Africa, we want a slice of the 20 trillion in order to create jobs in South Africa, in order to develop a modern South Africa. These technologies present us with unique opportunities for meaningful social transformation and building a more just and equitable world. One of the critical tasks facing our continent is to empower our youth so that they are not just consumers of technologies, but themselves become innovators and producers of new knowledge. We want new knowledge that's going to come out of our country, and we are quite capable of that. We're very gifted, by the way, in a bright nation, on all fronts. From music, look at Amapiano now. They are celebrated all over the world. That's South African innovation in the arts and the music field. But we are also gifted in a number of other areas. When COVID-19 started, the first variant type of COVID-19, other than the one we had at the time, was identified by South African scientists. Very important. Now, Comrade Maspada. You raise an important question. I was a little bit disturbed that you were now addressing me instead of the panel. But that's okay. Because I wanted the panel to be able to respond to this. We are aware, we have done a lot in South Africa, by the way, in the area of education and in the area of science and technology. But we are aware it's not enough. We are not going to deny it. As a department, we've got some programs. Prof, what is the school where we're donating the container of computers? Mloke. Mloke. Primary school, this little we can do as a department. We take a container and convert it into a computer with about 20 seats where young primary school kids can come and learn about computers, but also about some of these technologies that we are talking about. A rural primary school, and we left it there to be used with Wi-Fi. They can also talk to their colleagues in America, in South America, everywhere else in the world. And I have no doubt that in that primary school where we left that technology, you're going to produce scientists. I have no doubt about it. We need, however, to do more. Because that is why our mantra, I am glad, MSC, that you spoke about our mantra when we say, we want to place science, technology, and innovation at the center of government, because government as a whole must embrace science, technology, innovation. I always make this example simple. I'm making it because I was Minister of Higher Education. If you apply for a job in the Department of Higher Education and Training as a director, you go to a police station to certify your certificate. Okay? I've got a BSc degree, get satisfied, you queue. To come and bring that information to the department that already has that information. It's the Department of Higher Education that has that information. It's their universities. Why should you go and waste time, go to a police station and do this great thing with a piece of paper? Instead of the Department of Science and the Department of Higher Education, when you say you have a BSc, they should press a button which will show you whether you have that BSc or not. Or applying to any department for that. There is nothing that irritates me like this thing of certifying certificates. It's driving me absolutely crazy. It's a waste of energy, waste of time, often waste of money. A youngster from deep in the rural areas having to come to Kurwan, spend maybe 60 or 100 rand to come and certify a certificate, to apply, to get proof on something that is in the hand of government. Yeah. So those are just simple examples why our mantra says we must place science, technology, and innovation at the center of government, at the center of education. Because we want our youngsters to start very young, like the computer lab I'm talking about, and at the center of industry, because the private sector must be partnered, and at the center of society as a whole. I heard someone talking about using the broom, but not use it at night. I know exactly what you are talking about here in the board. Because also I come from a province which is a place called Umhlabuyalika, where I'm told there is this silence, of that you can actually do anything you want. Bad things often. Now, so this is just making simple examples about the need for innovation. By the way, do you know the creepy crawly that cleans swimming pools? It's all over the world. It's a South African innovation. It was found here. And that's the thing which is still being used all over the world. We've got many other innovations. By the way, I don't know which schools you are coming from, because what we must also do, our books on South African innovations must be sent to the schools to go to the libraries. I don't know whether the University of Limpopo does have these books, because if it doesn't, we must leave them behind so that they're in the library, so that you get insight of what we are capable of doing. We have to unlock Africa's potential. Let me put this simply. So, please, I know you're going to say you didn't sleep drafting the speech. Now I'm doing shortcuts. I'm not doing shortcuts. I'm trying to also just simplify some of the things that we are saying. More than 60% of the African population is under 25, 35. So we are young, we are youthful population, continent. If we can empower this youth with technology, with education, their contribution not only to this continent, to the rest of the world, will be enormous, huge. By the way, they don't have to go to other continents in order to be able to make a contribution. They can innovate where they are, but produce things that are going to contribute to global knowledge. So that's why we say we are holding this G20 president on behalf of Africa as a whole, not just South Africa. Because our continent has got enormous problems. It is also worth mentioning that young people are already shaping the world. I'm glad MEC that as a province, we have got a program to support startups. If a young person comes up with an app, you support that, because we need to multiply and grow those things. Out of that, you can get big business. From a youngster, from Purugwan, Mankwek, who comes up with an app that is helping us to solve many problems. I was in China. Some of the cars I saw in China are amazing. As you say, who was saying, by the way, that the future is already here? I realized that. I get into my car now in Zambia, and it's like, okay, it's like I'm driving a Middle Ages car in terms of the technology that I saw in China. No matter where you are, you read here how long the robot is going to be open for. If it is open, for how long is it going to be open before it closes? Here, even if your car is number 10 from the robot. And also, it's self-driving. Now, self-driving, it means the car can drive itself. You just punch and tell it where it is going to. Not the broom at night. The car. A car. Now, I saw this future for myself. Many big companies now, BMW, VW, they say they are going to producing their cars in China because they want this technology from the Chinese. Why? Because the Chinese invested in science, technology, and innovation. They are now reaping the fruits. Now, let me just, moving towards the end, just share with you some of the things that we are doing as the Department of Science, Technology, and Innovation here in South Africa to support or to contribute to youth development within our own space. We recently contributed over 900 million rands into what is known as the Innovation Fund, which is aimed at supporting innovations. 900 million, almost a billion. To date, the fund has supported 96 South African startups, and 21.7% of the startups are led by young people under the age of 35. By the way, young people are very curious. They are very smart. They understand things very quickly. My grandchildren now laugh at me when I can't do something with my iPad. And say, but Mkulu, no, how come? Why are you having an iPad? And then they just press do this and that. And then they said, oh, I didn't know about that. Young people are very creative. We've also partnered with the African Union Development Agency called NEPA, their regional centers of excellence, through an institute, African Institute of Mathematical Sciences, to implement a fully accredited Master of Science degree in artificial intelligence. That's what we are doing already. So, as you were saying, go and find these things. They are there. AIMS, this institution of mathematics, has also graduated more than 600 master's students since its inception, with nearly half being women. Many now hold positions as data scientists, university lecturers, research and development specialists in major technology firms or companies, driving innovation. Furthermore, since the first intake of students in 2003, AIMS has produced a total of 1,027 graduates from 41 African countries, 35% of whom are women. And we want to do more in terms of the number of women who are there. A total of 148 South African students have completed the program. 51% of AIMS graduates are employed in industry. Through NEPAD, as Science, Technology and Innovation Flagship Program, our department has empowered 1,200 young professionals, primarily in the Southern African region, with advanced science, technology, engineering, mathematics, education, and innovation leadership. In 2024, in collaboration with the National Empowerment Fund and the Climate Action Network South Africa, our department convened the National Empowerment Fund Africa Sustainable Development Goals Week, which focuses on youth-led innovations and their critical role in advancing sustainable development across the continent. Through the United Nations and the African Union Commission, we have also what is called African Girls Can Code initiative. Girls Can Code. Okay? And through that, we have introduced more than 150 young women and girls aged between 15 and 23 to the world of coding, with a special focus on artificial intelligence as a cornerstone of the curriculum. Because we want to say women can do it in any area. Now, when I talk about this, some men start showing at me, even quietly, they don't say it. Me, from age 12, I was brought up in a woman-headed household. Not the funny guy, because they are youngsters. Who was still alive, but he left us. I'm not going to say where did he go to. No. Often what happened when they leave, you come across him. No, he's now staying on the other side of town, and I feel he is alive. Now, I'm what I am because of my mother. And I call myself proudly, I'm a mama's boy. Yes. Don't mistake that then for that I'm weak, you can just do things as you wish. No, but I'm probably a mama's boy. You know, we grew up in a poor family. Not once did we sleep without food. We would only get food we like perhaps once a week on a Saturday. Uma will cook the best. But we never slept hungry even on the other days. And I don't know how she did it. Only women can do it, and women can feed and do anything that is done by any man. That is our approach and philosophy. Now, as part of advancing growth for young people through science, technology, and innovation, we recently convened a capacity building workshop on digital technology integration in business and trade for women and youth. We want to partner with the University of Limpopo with some of our programs going forward. It mustn't just start and end with this G20 gathering. We want to have concrete partnerships on science programs so that we are able to move forward. Now, all these initiatives are just part of the initiatives. It's not all of the initiatives that we are doing. To conclude, the journey to transform Africa into a global innovation powerhouse requires the collective efforts of governments, private sector players, academia, development partners, and youth formation. By the way, we don't like this thing that science, technology, and innovation must just be a function of our department nationally. We want provincial governments to have science, technology, and innovation initiatives. Municipalities must have this, and our universities are very critical in supporting our municipalities and provinces to actually play this role. So it's very important. We need to set our continent on a radically different development trajectory. And this starts by jointly committing to the development of what I call a sovereign development agenda for Africa. Because our continent is poor, our agenda tends to be set by those who give us money. And what is the problem about that sometimes? They come and discover things here in our country, but then go and register those things in their own countries as their intellectual property. They steal it in our African continent every day. We must protect what is ours. Just to give you an idea, I'm told by the scientists that I work with, South Africa is top 5 in the world of being the most biodiverse country. The plants that we have are amazing, but we've only studied 5% of them. We haven't studied the other 95%. That's why we work with the herbalists. By the way, my father was a herbalist. When he passed away, I thought I'm done with herbalists. When I met with the herbalists one day addressing them, they were very impressed that I know all these tricks done by the herbalists. They say, "Are you one?" I said, "No, my father." But he didn't leave the bed with me. He left them with my elder brother. And I thought I was done. Now, boom, I'm deployed in the Department of Science, Technology, and Innovation. I have to work with the herbalists. You know why we work with the herbalists? Because we want to study some of the medicines and the herbs that they are using. Because, you know, China, they've got what is called traditional Chinese medicine. It's a big industry. There are hospitals that are just using almost exclusively traditional Chinese medicine. There is not that we can use. I've got sinuses, very bad sinuses. And my father used to give me something to sneeze. You know, it was his own motive. And that would make me sneeze worse. You know, when I've got sinuses, you sneeze a lot. I would then sneeze 10 times worse. But after half an hour, after 20 minutes, then I stopped sneezing. And my nostrils are as clear as anything. I wish now I'd go to my brother and say, "What is that motive?" Because I'll bring it now as Minister of Science and Technology to one of our laboratories and then say, "Check, maybe there is something new that we don't know that can actually deal with sinuses." We are doing a lot of work, by the way, in health innovation and I'm finished. I'm proud to say we've developed our own vaccines now here to be able to deal with COVID-19 and other diseases like malaria that are facing the African continent. That's the achievement of our department. We are working very hard now. We've developed new technologies based on nuclear medicine to diagnose and treat cancer. You know, cancer is our new pandemic. I'm sure all of you sitting here, you know someone who has died of cancer. It's becoming a pandemic. We are investing into saying, how can we actually deal with this pandemic? Because science is nothing but pursuing solutions for problems facing humanity. So if we have been having a habit of complaining, Madonna Mama, from today, stop that habit. Think and act scientifically. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much, Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached, well, at least I've reached the end of my privilege here. I need to hand over to someone who shall facilitate a panel discussion. They have up until 2 o'clock. Minister, may I then request you and the MEC and the MMC and the DVC to go back to your seat. This is the only time I can tell my bosses. Thank you. Let's give it a clap. And then invite the next panel to join, to come up to the stage.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm sure everybody is a little bit tired now. And I can hear the little murmurs. I can hear you guys. I'm gonna make it as exciting as I can. I do not have a lot of time. I initially had 45 minutes. Seemingly I now have 23. But I have 6 panel members. If my panel members could please join me here at the front. If my panel members could please join me. I can see the officials here, but I do not see the innovators. Where are my 3 innovators? I can see 2 coming. I do not see Jabu. While I'm waiting for Ujabu to come forward, Madam, you. What was the question you asked again? Just tell me your name first as well. Yes, you, ma'am. Fast, mama.
So I am Mishap Matlawolole Fito, and the question that I asked was, what are the available funding for entrepreneurship and innovation? Thank you.
This whole panel is to answer your question. The whole panel. And before I start, I want to teach us all to clap, because clapping can waste a lot of time. So, Mazoho. Maybe let's listen to me, Mazoho. Maybe let's listen to me. Mazoho. 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 My name is Tulile Kanyile. I am a scientist. I'm a lecturer at the University of the Witwatersrand at the Medical School. And what this panel is going to talk about is community-based innovations. And we're going to talk about the support available for young people and people with disabilities, as well as women. I have a beautiful panel of people, very well balanced. I've got 3 government officials here who are going to talk to us about all of the infrastructure that's available. And then I've got 3 grassroots innovators. So these are people who have innovations that are funded by the Technology Innovation Agency. I am going to go straight into it and go to Dr. Tsebang Musia from the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, who is the Chief Director there for Innovation for Inclusive Development. Dr. Tsebang, please, what are the support instruments that are available within the department?
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to answer that question by illustrating 4 points. One, I think it's the theme of this particular event, and that's June is the Youth Month. That's very, very important. And also, I just want to explain the key focus areas for the department to drive what we call inclusion, innovation for inclusion. I'm going to explain what those 4 areas are, and I will conclude also by just talking about inclusive growth and innovation and mentioning the programs that the department has funded to drive inclusion and also to support young people who've got bright ideas that they want to take to the market. So very, very quickly, if I were to ask, what does this month mean to you? You will agree with me, looking at the youth of 1976. At the center is social justice. It is about transformation, it is about inclusion, it's about creativity of young people. You will all agree with me if I say that. What does it mean to you? What is this whole month about? But if I had to explain the work that the department is doing in supporting young innovators and entrepreneurs, I have to mention that we don't talk of youth outside of people with disabilities. We also don't talk of youth in exclusion of young people who are innovating in townships and in rural areas and previously marginalized areas. So this is very, very important. Every time we approach programs, design programs for the department, we will speak about the inclusion of people who have got disabilities and looking at those who may not have access to innovation infrastructure in townships and rural areas. And in the department, the program that we have in Innovation for Inclusive Development, it's about helping young innovators. If you've got an idea you want to take to the market, a very bright idea, we've got programs designed to do that. But how, as a country, are we going to address the challenge of unemployment? How are we going to address and achieve the aspiration of an inclusive growth? At the heart of whatever government is doing is innovation. So we are firmly convinced that at the heart of government's effort or departmental programs, it is innovation that will help us to achieve that inclusive growth. Now, in the decadal plan, just Google, the decadal plan is a departmental roadmap which sets the innovation agenda for the country. At the center of that decadal plan, we've identified about 4 catalytic areas where we feel if innovators or young people can participate and innovate in, will be able to drive this inclusion in their, ensure their participation in the economy. These are, if we work on wide-ranging applications, including ICT and AI, I think the minister was mentioning that we have to really support young people who are in that particular space. The other one is renewable energy. Renewable energy, as you know, around load shedding, it's a critical area where we could drive inclusion, and also new sources of growth, circular economy, and circularity. Those are big areas where we could really make a change and create skills, create employment opportunities, support them as SMEs, and ensure that youth are able to participate in the economy. But also the Africa continental free trade area, very, very important. So in conclusion, we already know that there are young people who may be working on green transition, who may have an idea to solve the problem of crime. And the minister kept on saying we must be people who will try to solve something. We've got a number of them. Others are really looking at municipal infrastructure. So those young people are looking at municipal infrastructure, solving crime, green transition, and many other challenges that we have in society. We have designed programs for that. I'm joined by Dr. Musran from TIA to explain this program. We've got what we call the Grassroots Innovation Program. Very ambitious program. We're supporting a cohort of about 300 bright young entrepreneurs who have invented products. I think there's a few here today. I've seen someone also who was recruited There she is, you can put up your hand. She was just appointed by TIA, she's being supported. We've got what we call living labs, and we've got what we call innovation for local economic development. We even have programs for women in green technologies that we just recently launched. And we've got technology for people with disabilities. This is a program designed to assist young innovators who are inventing assistive devices for people with disabilities, and a whole range of other instruments that we are having as a department. I'm not going to go into explaining those. We funded them, and we are implementing them in partnership with TIA and other universities and other partners. So that's how we are responding as a department. But maybe one last thing to mention is the procurement of South African developed technologies. We call it the procurement of locally developed technologies. We've got an ambitious program. We call it the Technology Acquisition and Deployment Fund, which helps if you've got a product that you've developed and it's ready for use, we then take it and deploy it in municipalities and government departments so that they can begin to acquire such technologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Musa. Mazoho? 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 Dr. Musia has landed us quite nicely, or segued us quite nicely to our next speaker, Dr. Anita Ramsuran, who is the General Manager at the Technology Innovation Agency. And she's going to talk to us specifically about this grassroots innovators program. But I also want us to actually define what a grassroots innovator is, Dr. Anita. So if we can define what that is, but also what the nature of the support is, and what the requirements are, and very importantly, where people can apply, where these young people that are sitting here can apply should they qualify for the Grassroots Innovations or Innovators Program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Anita Ramsuran from the Technology Innovation Agency. I think before I actually explain the program, I think what's important to recognize is that innovation does not only sit in the university, Vice Chancellor, Acting Vice Chancellor, the DVC. It doesn't only sit in the university. We have youngsters with brilliant ideas, 300 of them that we are currently supporting in the Grassroots Innovation Program. And we are supporting more than 1,000 other grassroots innovators through a network of living labs, an instrument of the department, as well as centers for centers for innovation and entrepreneurship. And many of the managers of the centers for innovation and entrepreneurship are actually in the audience. In the Limpopo one, there are 5 of them. They are in the audience. They started off in our Grassroots Innovation Program. If you could just wave wherever you are seated, they are running centers in Limpopo, and these centers are looking at providing that creative, transformative space for innovators to come in and get support. So you were wondering where you need to get support. We can provide you with the network where these centers are, where these living labs are, so that you will be able to access that. So what is a grassroots innovator? It's an innovator that we say works outside of formal systems. In other words, you may not have heard of the CSR, or you may not have heard of the department, but you have a brilliant idea that solves your existential challenges that you face on a daily basis. I also come from a very poverty-stricken background, and I understand the challenges that we go through. My job after school was to fill a drum of water, put into a smaller drum, wheel it with a wheelbarrow and bring it home and heat it up. And I was only able to get to running water and electricity when I was in 3rd year university. But it is these challenges that push you forward, to innovate. And a lot of the youngsters that we have here are like that. So it's somebody that's operating outside of the formal systems, but you do require the formal system to help you with your proof of concept, etc. So in the Grassroots Innovation Program, we support not only the innovation, we also support what we call the job. So we support the person behind the innovation, because it's very important that that's the person that drives the innovation. And we like to be a bit hands-off. We don't want to hold your hand too much, because we know that setting up a business and setting up a startup is hustling, and there's a lot of sleepless nights, and there's a lot of things that you need to go and get out there, right? And you need to just get the ecosystem that can support you, the community that can support you. So, in terms of the package that we provide a 260,000 rand package for a grassroots project, and many cases that's not enough funding for innovation, but it's a start, because what we've observed is it's a catalytic fund. Once you get into the program, we find other people, other organizations that we get into partnership with want to fund you. We found international partners that want to come into the program and want to fund. So we have lots of funding opportunities out there. What needs to do is just to give you a kickstart. And this grassroots innovation program is that access funding, catalytic funding that actually gets you there. This 260,000 package involves technology development, and we generally advise you to go to our centers, our labs, and our technology stations. The university has an agro-processing technology station that you could utilize if you have an agro-processing solution. The university also has a digital lab that you could utilize. So it's mentoring, it's technical support, it's ideation, it's helping you to come up with the business model, it's helping you to get certification, because it's very important that the products that you come up with is certified so that it is safe for the consumers, and it is safe for the country as well. I just had a message from one of our grassroots innovators, and he's got a letter of intent from Petro SA to supply 200 million liters of biodiesel for Petro SA. And one of the questions I asked him, did you get to all the specifications that Petro SA wanted? And he says, yes, I'm working with the technology station at NMU, and they were helping me to deal with all the specifications. So I'm not going to take too much time, but how do you get hold of us? Through our website, through our social media page, Technology Innovation Agency, Department of Science, Technology and Innovation. You would get onto to us. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Anita. And the minister wanted the young people who run the centers. I saw 4 hands there. If you guys could please stand up. The minister wanted me to ask you to stand up, please. There we go. Thank you.
These are the ones used in the book.
These are the ones just in the book. Yeah. I mean, if I did have more time, because the concept of a living lab, gas lab, tech station is coming up quite a lot, and I'm not sure if we are aware what living labs are. Do we know what living labs are? Give me a thumbs up if you know what a living lab is. So if you don't know, do that for me. If you don't know what it is, I think we need to define it. What is that?
Okay, so a quick one. So a living lab has been set up in a local space, and it is meant to be an innovative space that is able to democratize innovation. In other words, make innovation accessible to all, not only to the ones in university. But an interesting concept of a living lab is based on the methodology of co-creation. So when you come up with a solution, it's very important that the person you're developing the solution for, or the people you're developing the solution for, become part of the development of the solution. So there is co-creation that happens, and it's in the co-creation process, key stakeholders are brought into the process in order to be able to get a solution that is more acceptable, solution that can be better.
So we're looking at more human-centered design. Are there instruments? If a person doesn't have instrumentation, are they able to go to a living lab and a tech station and build? Is that what we're saying? So you're going to get access to actually building your innovation, because a lot of the time people have ideas, but they don't have the resources. So you don't have the 3D printer. So if you go to a tech station, you'll then be able to build and get the resources to build. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Anita. Inclusivity, diversity, equity and inclusion, words that have come up quite a lot today. And I am going to now ask Mr. Nechi Duni from the Department of Women youth and people with disabilities, just to tell us what role the department plays in advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly in the context of science, technology, and innovation. Do you maybe want to just shift your chair back a little bit?
Yeah, am I on?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, moderator, and for the question asked. Without greeting anyone because of time. The department is very much engaged with programs that are run largely by other departments and the sector itself, especially persons with disabilities themselves. The white paper on the rights of persons with disabilities mandates us as the department to look at the performances of other departments in terms of the implementation of the white paper policy directives. And in this process, we get to identify gaps that we need to be advising departments on. And obviously, here and there, we're going to find technology coming out. Recently, we met with the Department of Science, Technology, and Innovations at one of our consultative meetings. And we got to realize how seriously disenfranchised are we in terms of understanding what the Department of Science, Technology, and Innovation is doing. And by that, we took that opportunity to say, let us come together as the two departments and see if we cannot collaborate, because empowering persons with disabilities through technology is very important, because most of the persons with disabilities rely heavily on technology. Where I am, I'm thriving in my work because of technology. I may have gone to school using manual braille writers and everything because of, at that age, at that stage, that was what was being used. But ushered in the technology world made things much more easier and more easy for me to perform maximum and more maximum maybe to persons that are not disabled, if we were to be comparing. So what I'm saying is technology is something that should be embraced, and the departments, coming back to what the minister was saying in terms of the mantra of the department, we are wanting to feature into that mantra because as the Department of Women and Persons with Disabilities, we want to see that technology becomes an instrument of empowerment, an instrument of inclusion, an instrument of mainstreaming in terms of the white paper on the rights of persons with disabilities, so that we can give this advantage and opportunities opening up to persons with disabilities countrywide. Thanks.
Maybe just a quick follow-up. Are we seeing a lot of people with disabilities participating? I know our next speaker will address this, but I want to know from the department's perspective, having looked at gaps, having monitored the activity of departments, are we seeing trends where there is an increase? Should there be more awareness to increase specifically people with disabilities in participating, not only being recipients, but participating and leading the charge in solving problems? So what are the trends that we are seeing in that space?
Yeah, I think we are going the right direction in terms of participation by persons with disabilities. If we were to really be playing our role in terms of removing barriers to access and participation, because the platform itself where persons with disabilities are given opportunities should not be made inaccessible. So what I'm trying to say is, as a department, we coordinate and we make sure that these platforms are opened up equally for all people, including persons with disabilities. So if we assess and realize that this platform is not accessible and it does not provide opportunities for persons with disabilities to participate, we always challenge that. And that is the reason we wanted to partner with the Department of Science, Technology, and Innovation innovations, and other departments. For example, institutions that we are partnering with now, we are partnering with Ash Holdings. It is a department, so there's an institution that is providing a platform for job seeking and employment opportunities for persons who are young. And we are insisting that persons with disabilities must be included in that project, and that the platform itself must be able to be giving persons with disabilities access sufficient enough for them to interact and interface with the platform. So what we are saying is the people, if they are involved and if they are made to participate, they will give us what we want as the departments of government. We can't sit here and say we want to do things for them. We must be able to partner with them to do things for themselves. And we are quite grateful and happy that we have an innovator like Jabu Blossom, who came up with Viracom, which is going to empower people with disabilities who are deaf, interacting with SACS, so that from the get-go, when they enter the church office, what they call this these days? What? I'm used to that old name church office. I know that there's a new name now. Where they will be interacting with officials there for their documents to be well written using that technology. So that is what we want.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, that was quite extensive. It's also really encouraging to hear that departments are more and more starting to work together and collaborate with each other. I think we're going to move forward quite nicely in unison if we see more of that. And of course, we've had a beautiful introduction there to Mr. Jabulani Blose. I'm going into now innovators. The three next speakers are innovators who have been funded under the grassroots program. And for all three of them, there will be an elevator pitch, 30-second pitch, and then I will ask the question, but we must elevator pitch first. So, Mr. Blose from the company name is Viacom, let's have that elevator pitch.
Thank you very much, Program Director, for awarding me this opportunity. As introduced, my name is Jabulani Blose. I'm a South African Sign Language user. I represent Viacom and application is for sign language, or rather South African Sign Language. VRI in short. The purpose of it is to also have interpreters online. It's a visual app where it's a visual app where you are in the car. You can use it in the comfort of your home. You can communicate while you are at home, where a deaf person is elsewhere and the interpreter is in the comfort of their home. We are avoiding the cost and the time delays. When you need a South African Sign Language, like at this very moment, VRI will be there to assist you. Because now you start tapping on the app, then the South African Sign Language interpreter will appear on the app, where it will make communication very easy for both parties, the deaf and the hearing. It's very, very much easy to use. It's a local development. And
That is incredible.
That's incredible. And I think you can also, are we going on? I want to ask another question. I want to ask, what are some of the challenges as well that he's faced as an innovator? And what should be done to sort of assist in limiting those challenges?
thank you for that question. Innovative technology. When you introduce innovative technology, yes, we meet challenges. It's like skepticism. So that's the issue that we met. I met while coming up with this. So I was skeptical in a way. Again, it was a challenge. I met challenges because the app took time to be adopted. Again, it was not active in the public service. It was just a demo when it started. So you'd receive the message, but the government couldn't approve on the application. Why? Because interpretation clarity. Okay, because supply initiative at the same time. Again, yes, we had challenges, but at the end, we came through. But the most challenging part was skepticism and the adoption of the application. And PFMA. So those were the main issues that we had. Those were the most critical challenges that we came across. But at the end of the day, we managed to reach our goal.
Thank you so much. So skepticism and adoption, some of the challenges that you faced as an innovator with a disability. I'm going to move on to Mr. Kalo from Cello. That elevator pitch, sir.
Hello, my name is Maketele Kalo, and I'm very honored to be here, to be given this opportunity. So I'm an electoral specialist by training, and yeah, when I used to work in Cape Town, I'd go home, and one day I was visiting my school. I wanted to contribute, but it was somehow difficult, and that was one of the sparks for what Cello is, because I wasn't able to donate to my school. I needed to find a solution for it. So Cello basically transforms how schools raise money by making it digital, transparent, and community-driven. With over 60% of our schools very much underserved, this is a very much needed solution. And it also allocates some of the responsibility to the community and not just government. With Cello, we don't just help schools raise funding, we help them identify what to raise those fundings for. We have a diagnostic tool that helps them, assess the right points and the right issues to raise funding for first. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalo. I'm going to do a quick follow-up. What do you need to scale?
The easiest question, the easiest answer to this is money.
Always.
But we have a business model that we trust. So we just believe right now that with access, that will give fruit to money that's going to help us grow. So access in the sense of currently we've been dealing with schools on an individual basis. We've worked with 40 schools. With an improvement rate of 38% pass rate in all those schools, and we want to expand to more schools, and we want to deal from a high level, maybe with district directors for those schools, because then we can onboard a lot more schools in one go. So that level of access is what we need more than anything.
Access to district directors. I think the government officials heard you, and you must attack them so that you can get the scale that you're looking for. Thank you so much, Mr. Kalo. I'm going to move on to our last speaker, the very young, very dynamic Mphahlele Bohlale, your elevator pitch, ma'am.
Hi guys. Before I can actually start with my pitching, I want to go back to the minister's speech where he mentioned who proudly mama's boy, right? I don't want to like I'm going to propose the man about woman. We're going to do this together, right? Baringwanaga. So, Minister, with the song that I chose, that was just to show that remember about the football we are known for, and
Just get closer to your mic.
Because university. So now, as Banaba Bamu, really wanna really more people. Renya kampung sorry, Limpopo, really Banaba. Restaurant Majoko Abhai. I really felt like I'm a myself after far. Restaurant Majoko Abhai. If I restaurant Munyeta Joang. If unusual, I can ask or one of the students that we have it, how many know of TIA? According to the way by Kimanga creating any idea of what TIA is and what grassroots innovation agency is about. You can just raise your hand. I won't ask too much information. No one? You see what I'm talking about, Minister? Okay, one. Okay. So even our buying more awareness. Our family they were not having qualifications. We are very innovative. We need awareness within our schools. Not only awareness, we also need to make sure that when we are given opportunities, like we are part of the grassroots innovation, when we're given the funds to implement our ideas and innovations, we need somebody who will guide us, mentors, people who have been working on that journey before. We also need suppliers because when we are young, we are getting into the business sector, we do not know anything about that. We need suppliers that are going to be providing us with quality materials that we need to make sure that the ideas that we implement or the innovations that we implement are of good use and solutions to problems that we have in South Africa. With that being said, my name is Patele Botale. I am an inventor of electric earpiece. I'm also an innovator, a grassroots innovator under the GIP, which is Grassroots Innovation Agency program under TIA. Besides that, I am a student at a private institution. I'm studying IT in business systems. Now, with my idea, going back to what she asked me to do here, what my idea is about eradicating the chances of human trafficking, gender-based violence, and rape. It has been trending both nationally and internationally. I've been I've been recognized by the likes of Power FM, SABC, BBC from the UK as well. But because of lack of the knowledge and mentors of how to get real suppliers, I have the funding, but I'm still in the process of developing the idea. So I'm saying this because I want to also raise awareness to my peers, my younger brothers and sisters, that as innovators, it does not matter what matters is what you offer, what you do, what you decide to do with what you have. I'm from a rural area in Rampateng, just a few kilometers away from here. But I was really recognized by people of the caliber of Miss Mlambo Mnuga, the former deputy president of South Africa. When I went into those kind of rooms, I did not have much, but I had passion. I had hope that one day I will change the world. And Limpopo has the ability and the potential to do so, because Rebana Bagumma.
I did let Subohlale go on for a little bit longer because I have a bias towards her because she's a young woman. Bohlale, I really need you to tell us what your device is. Okay?
All right. So my idea, my project is about eradicating the chances of human trafficking, gender-based violence, and crime. So how it works is when the victim is being victimized, what they do, it works more like an earring. It's a wearable device. So it can work as an earring, it can work as a watch, it can work as a jersey. But for the first prototype, we decided to go with an earring because we've realized that when we were doing research on victims of rape, human trafficking, most of them are between the ages of 9 to 25. So we've decided that most of them, since they're still in school, they like to wear earrings, right? And most of them are women as well. So it was one thing that I thought it would be of an advantage to women. So what it does when they're being victimized is they'll press the earring, or it will check their temperature. When somebody is in danger, most of the times the heart rate rises. So it will capture that and then automatically expose a nano camera on the earring and then capture the face of the perpetrator. After capturing the face of the perpetrator, it also records videos just to make sure that the information is valid. Because most of the times when you go to the police, they tell you, it's already picture. I don't know, you know, our robber or something. You get what I'm on? So it just tries to build up on the information that this person is truly being victimized. It will send it to connected devices.